Hello and welcome to this game review. So about the Colle Zuckertort system, of course it's playable, but we can't really look at a game like this and decide based upon it whether or not an opening is good, of course, because the opponent was simply breaking all the opening principles. He developed a queen too early, then started moving around the knight many times, put his pieces on bad squares, so of course we will get a big advantage. And this will be the same with all openings. Whatever opening you play, if your opponent doesn't play by the opening principles, then usually you will be doing quite well. So the Colle is not very ambitious, as it creates a problem for white from move 2. You have this terrible bishop on c1 or later to b2, and it's simply not very good. So if you're trying to be objective, you must understand that if you have a bad piece, your position is not great. While black doesn't really have such a problem, he goes bishop b4, some check, I guess this is playable. And now he plays queen e5, which is a bit random, but if, for example, black plays normally with b6, bishop e7, let's say we get some kind of position like this, some kind of hedgehog, then white, of course, doesn't really have anything special. He is having some kind of small advantage in this type of position, but it's nothing special. And this b3 move without the dark squared bishop just creates some weaknesses. Okay, queen e5, bishop d3. And of course, if our opponent is playing like this, then we will have an advantage. Here, probably we should just castle, but okay, c4 works. Generally, we shouldn't allow our opponents to get the initiative like this. Of course, this isn't much of an initiative, as we're going to kick away the knight, but we shouldn't have even allowed this, probably. But okay, this is fine. g3 and knight g6, so the knight has gone on a long tour to g6, h5, and now pushing pawns. White plays h4, this wasn't really necessary. We could just play this. And h4, I mean, is this really an attack? Like, there's only two pieces attacking, there's no real threat, this knight is dominated. And here we can just use the fact that the opponent's pieces are not developed, and probably white is just winning. But okay, h4, kind of a waste of a tempo, but okay. Knight b4, and of course this is quite easy from now. White just develops sensibly in the center. The opponent's king is always weak. Now this pawn on h5 is weak. And we could have basically ended the game with knight f to g5, I think, just attacking this, threatening this. And so instead queen d6 was played, and of course all the moves were played quite quickly here, so again there's not too much to analyze here from the thought process point of view. Here we have 47 minutes. And which makes this long game kind of not very long. The opponent was really just struggling. Now we get some kind of end game. Well, we don't get an end game as the opponent doesn't exchange queens. But of course, everything here is quite simple. There's, again, not that much to analyze. The opponent's queen is now trapped, as the rook is also attacked. So the opponent didn't really get to play a game here. He messed up quite early on. So overall, quite well played by white. Of course, it's hard to say anything about the thought process, as all the moves were made instantly. For example, h4. There was no consideration of whether or not h4 was a good move or not, whether it's worth the tempo. It was just played instantly. So as in such games, I just don't call them classical games, because there was no thinking involved. It was just kind of automatic decisions. h5, okay, I'll stop it with h4. But overall, what to say about the Zuckertort system? Well, it's not great. It's playable. It's nothing special. All openings are playable, more or less. And here, had black played a bit better, for example, I think there are certain variations like knight c6 and bishop b2, and let's say just taking. Even something like this is nothing special for white, even if he gets this knight e5 idea in. Black can develop quite easily. He can have his own ideas of knight e4. And even here, if black knows what he's doing, he will be fine. Of course, the thing is, most people at this level don't really study the Colle for black, so it's kind of easy to beat them. But objectively, it's playable. Not great, not bad. But as with all openings, if the principles are abided by, you will be fine.